Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to a new video. Today I'm doing a tier list video, more specifically a tier list of every manga that I've ever read. Whether I've completed it, it's ongoing, dropped it, paused it, whatever. Just as long as I've read it and I put it on this list. This is manga only, no anime, because then it would just be way too long. So if something's not on here, I either have not read it, or I've seen the anime for it and, haven't read it. So, if you're wondering about something, you can just ask me in the comments. But yeah, we've got a lot of stuff here because I've read a pretty good bit of manga. And this is probably going to be a longer video, so let's just get right into it. First up, we have 20th Century Boys. This was a good manga. I did like it. I loved the story and the setup of it, the sort of kids game becoming reality, and can you stop it as an adult and remember how you were and what the games were when you were kids. It was super fun and was a really well executed idea. I just thought it was a little too long. I would have liked it more, I think, if it was shorter. And then the characters were all solid, but there were no like standouts for me. The only one whose name I can really remember is Kenji. Not to say they were bad, they filled their roles fine, but they just haven't stuck with me since finishing it. So, I do think it's a good series though. I did enjoy it, so I'll put it in good tier. Next up is Assassination Classroom. I got the box set of this when it came out and was super excited. I watched the anime a few years back, loved it, and reading it again was super fun. Shonen slice of life, and if you look up a synopsis of it, it's as weird as it sounds. Alien teacher teaching kids how to assassinate them, but also life lessons, and if they can't, he'll destroy the moon. It sounds so dumb, but it just works, and it is such a fun read. The second half in particular has some great arcs, the final arc in particular being just fantastic. Loved Assassination Classroom. Put it in very good. Next up is Act Age. Now, of course, there is the controversy about this manga and its reason of it being canceled. If you don't know, you can look it up because I don't want to get into that here. But Act Age was a great manga, and I wish we could have seen the end of it, but it was not meant to be because one of the people involved with it did not deserve to be involved with it. But the art is fantastic. The artist is completely innocent, and she deserves better because her art is fantastic, especially on the characters. I want to be able to put it higher than I will, but just because of where it stopped, it kind of prevents me. But we did get so many great arcs, like the Galactic Railroad, and even more that I just can't remember the name of. And I'm going to put it in very good. Loved Act Age. Yonagi was such a great main character, too. It's a tragedy, man. Screw that guy. Next up is A Silent Voice. Now, if you've seen the A Silent Voice movie, you should read the manga, because when I read the manga this year, I was shocked. I had seen the movie, loved it, but the manga has so much more. I was amazed. The movie adapts maybe 50 to 60% of the manga. There's so much more in here. The character arcs go a lot longer. I found the ending more satisfying. You get to see it from Shoko's point of view, certain scenes, kind of her monologue, and it's just great. Like I said, I was shocked by how much more I got out of it, and I loved the movie when I watched it too. But now, if I'm being honest, I don't really like the movie that much anymore. The manga is just, it's where it's at, and I didn't realize how much was left over, but it was a pleasant surprise, so I'm super glad I read it, and it's totally worth reading if you've seen the movie, because there's a lot more in there for you. Next up is 3 Days of Happiness, I believe. This is a light novel, or it was a light novel, but this is the manga adaptation of the light novel. And I believe we got the light novel officially published, so I hope we get the manga too. And basically what it's about is this guy stumbles upon a shop. And this shop, you can actually sell your lifespan all the way up to where you have 3 days of life left. And he chooses to do that. He sells his life for money. And it just goes on to that, sort of tackles that idea and makes you think, can you put a value on life? What is life worth? Should he have done it? And you get to see his coming to terms with it and how he reacts to what he'd done. And he's assigned a follower too, which is the girl on this on the cover, because there's some rule about like you have to have someone follow you. I don't remember exactly why, but it did make sense. And it's just a short but really good manga. I really enjoyed reading this, and it gets pretty emotional, especially at the end from what I remember. So I would love if this got an official release of the manga. I would buy that instantly, and I hope it does since we got the light novel. This is a really good manga, and I would totally recommend it for if you want like a short read. This is a really good one. Next up is The Ancient Magus Bride. This is a series I was drawn to because of the artwork, specifically the cover art. If you haven't seen the covers for this series, just go look them up. They are gorgeous. And I read, I think, 5 or 6 volumes of it, so a decent amount. And I just thought it was, like, alright. I don't have the volumes anymore. I sold them because I didn't want to continue. And it was a shame because this was a series I wanted to like more than I did. Which is too bad. But, you know, I still think it's worth reading if it sounds like something you would be into. The artwork, like I said, was great. And as long as you can get past this guy being like a hunk of bones, which can definitely be a little jarring at first, you'll be alright, because it's a good manga with some good characters, something I wished I liked more than I did, but it is what it is. Next up is Angel Densetsu. This is like a gag comedy manga. So the premise of it is that the main character basically has like a really scary face. So everyone thinks he's like some thug and will like beat them up and like are scared of him, but he's actually just a sweet little angel. Not literally, but he's just a good guy. And that's kind of its main gag. And from what I remember, it was a pretty funny and good manga. I do remember the artwork being, like, kind of bad, though. It is older, but still, like, the art works well for the main character, because the gag, but for everything else, it was pretty lacking for what it wanted to do sometimes. But even still, was a pretty fun manga from what I remember. This is definitely one worth reading if you're into that, or if that sounded interesting. Next up is Akame ga Kill. Now, I think the anime adaptation of this manga is more famous than the manga, and I've never seen the anime, but I've heard the anime kind of amps up like the death and gore and kind of just goes for shock value, which is unfortunate because the manga, it doesn't really do that. It is a little edgy at times, but overall it's a much more cohesive story, and the characters in here, it can be hit or miss, but there are some pretty good ones. I really liked Esdeath. She was great. And the main character, I remember thinking he was pretty alright too. And some of the other ones, I just can't remember their names because it's been so long. But yeah, it was a solid series. Has some pretty cool art in the fights, especially at the end. I liked Wave too. I remember his name. He was a cool guy. But yeah. It was a good manga. I don't have it in my collection anymore, but I did at one point just because I was like, I'm never gonna reread this. But I do actually think it's worth reading. You know, it probably gets a bad rep from the anime, but the manga is pretty alright. Pretty alright. If it sounds interesting to you, it's battle manga. It's got some romance, boobies, if you like that, you know, there you go. It's definitely worth reading, if it sounds interesting. Next we have All You Need Is Kill. This is based off of a movie. I don't know the name of the movie because I've never seen it, but this is a pretty good read. It's very short, less than 20 chapters. The two main characters are the most important ones, and they're both pretty good. The artwork is fantastic from Takeshi Obata, and for how short it is, it manages to tell a pretty good story and was a fun little read. I think this is something pretty good if you're trying to get someone into manga, or maybe for a first manga. This would probably be pretty good since it's all in one volume, at least in English, and is pretty short. This is totally worth reading. This is a nice little book. Next, we have Astra Lost in Space. This is a great mystery manga. As the name implies, it's this group of kids sort of get lost in space. And through that, they have to find their way back home and survive while doing it, as well as unravel the conspiracy of, well, why did we get lost here, since it was obviously, didn't really seem like an accident. And it's just a really good mystery series. Again, this one's super short too, only 5 volumes, no filler, all killer. Great manga that I just see myself rereading, or I have reread. I watched the anime and then read it instantly. So something, again, is really good. Maybe I'll make a video about it, like maybe a video just a short manga. But yeah, this is a really good one. I'm gonna put this in very good. This is super good, especially if you like mystery, sci-fi, space stuff. This is a good manga for that. Next up, we have Again. Now, this is a manga about some, down and out adult guy. Something happens, I don't remember exactly what, but he is reincarnated in a way, and basically gets to relive his high school years again. Boom. The name just came free to this one. And the reason I read this was because I liked this anime series a lot called Relife. And it had a similar sort of premise to that, sort of adult reliving his high school years. And I really enjoyed that one. So when I heard about this, it sounded similar. I was like, hey, sounds great. And it was not. It wasn't bad, but just really boring. Like, I dropped this, I think, like, pretty close to the ending, just because, like, I was like, I just don't care, man. It was boring. And, I liked the premise, but, it just wasn't all that. It just made me think I would just rather watch Relife. And, I know it's not necessarily good to compare, but I couldn't help it, so, this is going in meh. Next up, Attack on Titan. If any of you watched my, my video about Attack on Titan, that I did, like, when it ended, like a 30-minute video. I didn't even mean for it to be that long, but, like a reflection review of it. And, if you haven't watched that, just go on my channel, it's a few videos back, and I pretty much mostly agree with what I said in that video. And that was before the updated, like, volume release extra page ending came out, and I did like that ending less because it took away one of the few things I did like about the original ending. But even still, like, if you're overreacting, like, AOT 1 out of 10, just spend a little less time on Reddit, and you'll be fine, I promise. But, it used to be one of my favorites. It's certainly not up here anymore, but I do still think it is a very good manga, and a part of me is very excited to reread it all from start to end, binge it again sometime in the future, just to solidify what I think more, and maybe pick up on some stuff, and, just see kind of more. And I think that would be enjoyable, whether it's for better or for worse, but I don't think it would really, like, drastically change my mind. But I do think AOT is still a very good manga. If you haven't started it and you're, like, getting freaked out because everyone keeps, dumping on it, calling it like the worst thing ever. Just ignore them. Like it's an overreaction. It's still, I would say, worth a read or watch if you're interested. And we do have the rest of the anime coming out, so maybe that will address some of the clean up some of the ending stuff. That would be appreciated. So next up, Bakuman. This is something I haven't read in a long time, and maybe I should fix that and reread it, but it's a really good manga by the Death Note duo, and just gives an insight to a lot of the manga industry, which, if you like manga, is really cool to see. You get to kind of know some of the workings of Shonen Jump, kind of the whole process of how manga is made, and on with that, a very wide and interesting cast of characters just makes it a pretty fun read. It can get very wordy at times and almost feel like you're reading a novel, but it's a good series. From like I said, it was really interesting. I learned a lot of new things about the industry from it, and now that I'm reminded of it, this is something I need to go back and reread soon. Next up, we have Bastard. This is a webtoon, and I'm not normally a fan of webtoons, and I didn't put any other webtoons on here thinking about it, so I don't know why I put this, but this is definitely my favorite of the few webtoons I've read. It's like a thriller mystery, murder mystery kind of thing. It's been a long time since I've read it, but it has some really cool characters, and the thriller aspects of it were pretty cool. I especially remember, like, binging this, like, just late at night, staying up till, like, 3 a.m., finishing it, and it's good from what I remember. I liked this, and it's my favorite webtoon out of, like, the 6 I've tried, so that's gotta count for something. We'll put it in good. Next up is Berserk. Oh, Berserk. I need to reread and catch up to Berserk because I wasn't caught up with it. I had like the first 30 volumes, I think. Yes, 1 through 30 I have, and that's about where I, paused and took a break. But I need to reread and catch up on it, of course, with the tragic passing of Miura this year. No one knows what will happen with Berserk going forward yet, but what we have is just so great, and I really can't wait to reread this and catch up. I know it's going to be really emotional and hard-hitting, but it's something that I do really want to do, and I'm looking forward to it for when I do it. Maybe I'll start that after this video, who knows, but yeah, Berserk is going in great, and after the reread and I catch up, maybe even all the way up here. But for now, great. And these are not ordered in the tiers, by the way. I'm just throwing them up there. Next, everyone's favorite new manga, Blue Box. All jokes aside, though, it is actually quite good. I am enjoying it so far. This is a new romance manga from Shonen Jump. Still very early out. Maybe has 10 chapters, around that, so still very early on, but it's just a super promising manga. These two's relationship on the cover, they're so sweet. It's a very wholesome manga, at least so far, and that has a bit of sports in it too. They both play sports and are kind of encouraging each other to succeed in said sport, so a very healthy. They're not like dating yet, but there was a one shot out, so it kind of lays the outline, but I'm sure there'll be some differences. But I have enjoyed this a lot so far. It is good. Like I said, it's still early on, but it has a very bright future, and I'm definitely going to keep reading this, so I'll put it in good, just because of how early it is. Blue Lock. Oh, I love this manga. I love it. Maybe more than I should, but nah, screw that, man. I love this manga. It is fantastic. There's a rumor that it's going to be getting an anime announcement soon, and hopefully with the anime we can get an official English release. That would just be my dream. I will single-handedly carry the sales of this manga. I will buy thousands of copies per volume. Not really, but I will just celebrate all day. We're partying that night if it gets announced. But I love this. It's a soccer manga and is a very different take on the sports genre, as far as most, sports series are all about the importance of, teamwork, camaraderie, and, playing together and setting your ego aside to be part of the team, which is very good, and there's nothing wrong with that, as you'll see some other sports series that have all that I'll rank very highly, but this is a different take on that. It's all about being selfish, using your ego as a tool, using it to devour others, use others as a stepping stone to become the best, and if someone can't keep up with you, then screw them, leave them behind. And it's just a really refreshing take on it, and I love it. If you like soccer, I can't recommend this enough. I really hope the anime announcement is true, because some scenes animated in this would be awesome, and hopefully an official English release. I'll put it in great for now, because this current arc they're on has been very, very good. I read it weekly, and if this current arc really hits like how I think it will, probably be up here. But for now, great. Next up is Boarding School Juliet. I love this manga. This is one of my favorite rom-coms. It is uses the boarding school Juliet's the name, but uses the Romeo and Juliet formula of a forbidden love, of course, to they're not supposed to be together, but they find a way. And it is just great. It takes place at this school on an island, and the island is a neutral territory, and everyone who goes to the school is from these two different countries, and the countries are not at war currently, but they are not on good terms, so it's very forbidden to be friends with anyone from the other one, let alone, date and whatnot. But it does that, and it's just a really, really good manga. I enjoyed it a lot. The cast I love. All of them are super sweet and funny. The main couple, Romeo and Juliet, are great. They have a really nice relationship, and there's some pretty cool arcs in here when it gets serious, as you would expect from the challenges of a Romeo-Juliet style setup, and it delivers on those serious arcs. This is a really good manga. If you like rom-coms, looking for one to read, and you haven't checked this out, go for it. Totally worth it. Okay. Next up is Chainsaw Man. Everyone is trying to read this manga right now, and for good reason. I love it. It was a super fun binge. I caught up to it a few weeks before it ended, so it was fun catching up to it. And those weeks waiting for the last couple chapters were just brutal, but Chainsaw Man is super great. We got the anime coming out, which is driving up hype. They can't even keep the volumes in stock. Like, it's just crazy. But it is a really good manga. It pushes the limits of what a shonen manga can really be because of how dark and messed up it can get at times. This was a super, super good read. And I hope the anime is good too, because I'm really looking forward to it. And I hope they can get these back in stock, because the more people reading this, the better, because it needs to be appreciated. I'm gonna put this in great. This is a great manga. Next up is Trojan X, Sui Ishida's new manga. And I need to make a video about this, actually, like a first impressions. Only 4 chapters out, and it's on an irregular release schedule, which is good for Ishida, because if you know his situation that happened with Tokyo Ghoul and stuff, it was just really breaking him down, the sort of weekly grind. But so I'm glad he seems to be so happy, and I can feel how much fun he's having writing and drawing this, and I feel like that comes across in the pages, and I've heard more people say that too, which is good. But very similar to Tokyo Ghoul early on so far, which is fine, but I am wondering how it is going to differentiate itself. But yeah, I should make a first impressions video about this. I will probably do that sometime later. Just because it's so early on, you know, I can't rate it too highly, but definitely worth reading, I'd say. Definitely worth reading. Next up, we have The Crimson Shell by Jun Mochizuki, who is the mangaka for Pandora Hearts, which you'll see later, and the case study of Vanitas, which you'll also see later. And by that, I'm sure you can tell, I really like her works. And Crimson Shell it was like a one-shot and kind of went on to inspire Pandora Hearts, but they're not necessarily linked. And it was a fun read seeing that, but not really something I would read again, unless you're a big fan of her works. You know, this is just not really something you need to worry about. It is only one volume though, which is cool, but I find it pretty forgettable, just kind of meh. Next up, we have Deadman Wonderland. I actually dropped this manga, and a part of me wants to go back to it, but you know, I didn't really like what I read. It was a cool enough setup, it just, something about it just didn't grab my attention, which was unfortunate because it was something I was really excited to try, and maybe I'll go back, you know, try it again sometime later, but for now, you know, just kind of meh, Now we have, okay, so the Death Note one-shot and then Death Note. Well, let's do real Death Note first. So real Death Note, super nostalgic for me. The first manga I ever read, actually. Volume 1 of Death Note and Volume 1 of Naruto. First manga volumes I ever bought. Bought them both at the same time, and I still love Death Note even after all this time. Part of it, you know, is it nostalgia? You know, maybe, but I do reread it fairly often, and I've reread it recently, and it still holds up to me. Yeah, the second half is definitely not as good as the first, but I don't think it's that big of a drop-off as some people may have you say. You know, it definitely prevents it from being, like, one of the best to me, but still a great manga, and another one that, if you're trying to get someone into manga, or looking to get into manga yourself, Death Note is what got me and a lot of people into it, so you can do a lot worse than starting there. And we have the Death Note one-shot, sort of sequel, follow-up, kinda thing, and it was exciting when this got announced. We're like, wow, new Death Note content after all this time, and this was alright. The main character here had a pretty solid plan, and you know, really got screwed over as people with the Death Note seem to tend to get. But it was pretty entertaining. You know, not like the greatest thing ever, but you know, certainly not the worst. If you're a fan of Death Note, this is, you know, worth reading because it's more Death Note, which is fun. But you know, it's just it's alright. I'll put it in meh. It's alright. Then we have Demon Slayer. Now, I used to read Demon Slayer before the anime came out. You know, not to be one of those guys, but I remember getting Volume 1 on release day because I really liked how the art style looked. And I was reading it for a while, and I was like, yeah, you know, this is alright. And then I saw the anime get announced. And not only the anime get announced, but that it was going to be Studio Ufotable. And I am a Fate fan, and regardless of how I feel about the Ufotable Fate adaptations in terms of how well they adapt the story of Fate, one undeniable thing is the visuals and animation quality are insane. Unlimited budget works. So when I saw they were doing Demon Slayer, I could not drop it fast enough because I was just gonna watch the anime. And the anime seemed to do pretty well for it because now it's like the best-selling manga ever. So yeah, Demon Slayer is definitely if you want to get into it, just watch the anime. But the manga is not bad. Like if you watch the anime and loved it and just need to continue, but are kind of worried about, oh, how big's the adjustment gonna be? Just do it. Just do it. It's really not that bad. The art style has its own charm to it as well. And yeah, I'll put it in worth reading. I'm not even that big of a fan of the anime. I think it's like all right, but I do like watching the animation of it, and I've heard this next season is gonna have like a really cool arc, so I'm excited for that because I don't hate it, and I like some parts of it. It's an alright series, so yeah, worth reading, if you want to. Oh no. Next up is Domestic Girlfriend. If you don't know about this, it's quite something. When I saw the synopsis of it, I thought it would be like a comedy manga, and it just sounded so stupid and absurd that I was like, okay, let me at least try this out. And I read it, and it's not a comedy at all. It takes itself completely seriously, which is funny in its own way, but I just got sucked into this and just had to know what was going to happen next. And it's just, this is the peak of trash. If you just want, like, a bad manga, this is it. It does not get any better or worse than this, depending on how you look at it. And I like this manga, but like not because of the quality of it, but just because of my experience with it. Just being like, dude, what did it just do that? Kind of thing. Getting put on the emotional roller coaster. Oh my, this manga, man, this manga. I don't even know like how I would rate it, like with a number score, but it is worth reading if it sounds like your kind of thing, or if you're just looking for something like I just need to read something just insane. This is it. This is it. It's hard for me to talk about this, just as I'm sure you could probably tell, just because of like how it's hard to put into words some of how I feel about it. But if it sounds cool or entertaining to you, it's worth reading because it is entertaining if nothing else. Cause I binged like 200 chapters in like a day, and don't regret it at all because it was a one of a kind experience. Next up, we have Downfall by Inio Asano, and I've read most of Asano's works, not all of them. I've not read a few, but this one I did not like very much. I felt like it was too short to really do what it was trying to do, and it just really fell flat for me. I wouldn't really recommend it. If you want some Inio Asano, he has far better works than this that you can go for. Next up, we have Dr. Stone. Now, I have kind of a weird relationship with Dr. Stone. I still like it, but for about the first 100 chapters or so, I loved Dr. Stone. It was my favorite Shonen Jump manga. I couldn't get enough of it, but I haven't been able to get as invested in the villain as I could in the first arc, so that really knocked down my enjoyment some of it. I still read it weekly, I still like it, the artwork's still fantastic, and Senku is still a fantastic protagonist, but I just don't like it as much as I did but I do still think it's good, and it seems to be on its way to a pretty good finale, since it seems like it should be not wrapping up soon, but close to, if not in its final arc. So we'll put it in good. Next up is Imanon, and there's 3 volumes of this. I've only read the first one, but I should read the other 2 because I did like it. It was a nice, short little read. Really liked the artwork, and the character of Imanon seemed very interesting. And every time I think about it, I'm like, hey, I should go get volumes 2 and 3. And then forget about it and have not, but I really should. So, yeah, this is definitely worth reading. It's, look up a synopsis, because I'm not quite too sure how to describe it without saying too much, but it was a fun little read, and I really should make a note to get the other 2. Next up is, I forget the name of this exactly, but it's like, Now It's Time for Ethics. And this is a good manga. I need to catch up on this, because I think I'm only on, like, chapter 10. Oh, excuse me. I think I'm only on, like, chapter 10, and it is very good. It follows an ethics teacher and his high school class, which sounds really boring, and I don't blame you for thinking that, but I've found it to be the exact opposite. It poses a lot of really cool dilemmas and questions to you, the reader, and you sort of get to think about them along with this manga, and it doesn't necessarily paint the way it resolves it within here as the right one, and maybe encourages you to think beyond. And every time I read a chapter of this, I always catch myself thinking about it later, thinking about what topic it addressed, and, leaves it sticking with me. So I really do need to catch up to this, and I saw something a while ago that apparently it was selling decently well, so maybe there's a chance it makes it over here in English officially. That would be cool, but I'll put it in good tier just because I'm still so early on, but I think once I catch up, I'll probably put it much higher than I have it now. Next up is the Evangelion manga. I love Evangelion. I'm a big fan of the anime, and the manga is quite good too. I read it this year, and I've wanted to for a while. I was finally able to get my hands on all the volumes, and it was a pretty enjoyable read. I do still think I prefer the anime overall, but I can see why there are fans of, the manga, because it does do some things, specifically a little bit better than maybe the anime does, and the art style is super great because it's by the character designer, so, it looks so good. I love the artwork, because I love the Ava character designs as well, but even the backgrounds and the mechs are super good too, and it was a enjoyable manga. I think if I wanted to go back to Ava, I would just watch the anime, but this is a totally valid way to experience Ava if, maybe you're just not an anime person. This was very good. I like this a lot. And then, yeah, I deliberately picked the one with Asuka on it because she is great. Next up is Eyeshield 21, an American football manga, which is, it's pretty funny considering, they made a manga about it, but it was cool, and it's really good. It's got Yusuke Murata on the artwork, and obviously is not going to be good as his One Punch Man art, is still very good, and is just a really enjoyable manga. And even though it's pretty long, it being 37 volumes, I actually reread it last year, and it just went by super fast. Really like this manga, and is super good with a great main character. Senna is fantastic, and has a really colorful cast of characters by the Dr. Stone writer as well. So, if you like those things, this is totally good. And, if you like American football, there you go. This is a very good manga. So you guys can probably tell I like my sports series, and this is a very good one. Totally recommend it. Next up is Fire Punch. This I'm actually reading right now. I've read the first 3 volumes of it, and it is crazy. It is by Fujimoto, who is the Chainsaw Man mangaka. This came first, and it is a seinen manga, so it's a lot darker than Chainsaw Man. But Chainsaw Man's still pretty dark, so that just gives you a clue of how messed up this can get. And it is insane. Some of the characters are just insane. The premise of the world, it's basically apocalypse. So you get to see the worst of humanity, and they all have these special powers. It's really interesting. And like I said, I'm still reading it. It's pretty short. I think 8 volumes, maybe 7. So I just finished 3. So I will be finished with it soon, hopefully. But I've really enjoyed it so far. It's been good, and I definitely want to keep reading just because of how insane it is. I just need to know. So I'll put it in good, and can't wait to finish this because it's been a very interesting read to say the least. Next up is the Flowers of Evil. I love this manga. I read the entire thing in one sitting, and the second half of this manga, there's a little time skip, is one of my favorite arcs in manga. It is just perfect. It does so many things well for the characters, for the themes of the story, for the way the story to go, and then revolves itself beautifully. And I loved this manga. I, tried to get all the single volumes, and I have all of them except volume 10. But volume 10 is so expensive, so I don't know if I'll ever have a complete set of the singles, but hopefully I can. And this is just great. Definitely Shuzo Oshimi's magnum opus, and which I'll talk about Oshimi's other stuff with some of the other manga on this list, but it's Flowers of Evil is just freaking amazing to me, and I feel like with Oshimi, I've been reading his other works trying to chase that magic that I had with Flowers of Evil, but I haven't been able to find that in his other stuff, which is disappointing, but I can talk more about that when I get to him. But Flowers of Evil is either on great or the best. I'll put it in great because we gotta leave the best more exclusive. But yeah, I really want to reread this now that I have the volumes. So I probably will soon, and it's great. It's great if you like psychological stuff. Great manga. Next up is Food Wars. I'm gonna have to be honest here. I think Food Wars are really sucks. I did not like it at all. The artwork is pretty nice, but it didn't really click for me because it tries to have these serious arcs with like the cooking battles and stuff, which is fine, but you can't expect me to take these arcs and character moments seriously when they're having like orgasms when they try a hand of rice. Like, come on. And then the characters I just all found pretty boring too. I forget how far I got. I think I got to like around what season 1 adapted, because I watched season 1 as well with a friend, and then tried the manga again because I thought maybe I would like that more, and I just didn't. Not a Food Wars fan. Food Wars slanderer here, and yeah, dropping that right at the bottom. Next up, we got Fly Me to the Moon. Another just absolute banger. This is a slice of life rom-com series for the most part, but within those slice of life rom-coms, it sprinkles in little elements of mystery about Miss Tsukasa and sort of the mystery of her, because the first time you see her, she just kind of gets hit by a semi-truck and is totally fine. So it's like, huh. And then there's some other weird stuff, but then, oh no, forget about that. Let's have cute, fun, slice of life stuff, which is great, because then I love her and NASA, the main couple, and now it is starting to follow up on those sprinkled drops of seriousness, and it's just fantastic, and I can't wait to see where this manga goes. I love it. It's in great for now, but I'm just gonna be honest. If it continues on this trajectory, it's going right up here in the best, and it's gonna happen, because I believe. Next we have Forget Me Not. It's been a while since I've read this, but I remember really liking it. So the premise starts out, the main character gets like in an accident and develops like temporary amnesia, and he gets or not amnesia, but like he forgets who saves him, and the only clue he has is that it was a girl. So he sort of reflects back on his life and his past relationships, all the way from like middle school to adulthood, and you get to see sort of how he got to this point of being down and out, and his self-destructive behavior, as well as try and find the mystery of, well, who was it who saved him and whatnot. And I remember really enjoying reading this. Maybe I've, yeah, I think that was it. Like I said, it's been a while since I've read it, but from what I remember, that was it, without spoiling too much. And yeah, I remember this being a good manga, and I would be open to rereading this sometime. I should try and look for the volumes, see if I can grab it. But yeah, good manga, good manga. Next we have a Full Metal Panic Sigma. This is the manga adaptation of like the final arc of Full Metal Panic. If you don't know Full Metal Panic, it's like a light novel. It was made into an anime, and the anime got several seasons, just did not adapt the final arc all the way through. So this is kind of the only way to see it, and I love Full Metal Panic, one of my favorite anime. So I read this and really enjoyed it. Very, very good. And I need to go back through Full Metal Panic sometime, because I miss it. It's a great series. Now we have the punching bag of manga tube, A Girl on the Shore, which side note, by the way, I thought it was very funny how this became the punching bag of all things. Just because of Girl on the Shore bad. It's like the punchline, and I agree. It's not a good manga, but I just found it funny that it was this of all things. But I do agree, it is not good. Another Asano work. I assure you, I am not an Asano hater. He just has a far better than these two that you should read. And yeah, don't. You don't have to read it unless you like want to read all of Asano's stuff. Then you can, but like I said, there's much better Inio Asano out there. So we have, my beloved Go With The Clouds, North by Northwest, Volume 5. I think it's supposed to be coming out next month at the time of me recording this. I'm so excited. I love this manga. I've reread my 4 volumes of it like twice. I love everything about it. The characters, the story, the mystery, the artwork. It's so great. Aki Irie is such an underrated mangaka and needs more love. And I can't wait to get volume 5 of this, because I'm so excited. And, I just can't say enough good things about this manga. It is fantastic. I'm You know what? Screw it, man. I'm gonna put it in great. I just really, the only problem I have with it is that not enough of it is out, which, we got the new volume coming out, so, fixing it slowly but surely. But great manga. Totally recommend this. I don't want to say too much because I do want to make a video, like, spotlighting this sometime in the future, because especially if it continues like this, I'm just going to adore this manga, even more than I already do. Next up, we have Golden Kamui. This is a series that I would buy, like, a volume for, like, once every couple months. And then when I bought a volume, I would enjoy it. I really like Sugimoto. He's a great main character. And it has some really just insane villains, especially, which can make for some entertaining chases and stuff. But I don't think it's something I'm gonna continue reading. I like the premise, chase for the gold, and some of the characters, but there's just a lot of moments in the manga that where they're just kind of, standing around in the forest, hunting, going on about nature and stuff that I just was not super interesting to me. There's, things I like about this series, but I think it just speaks volumes that I wasn't really ever in a rush to pick it up, or a lot of it up. Means that, I just really wasn't, I enjoyed it, but just not enough to keep going. But, I do think that it is worth reading, especially as a seinen manga. It does start off slow, I will warn you that, but once it picks up, it gets really fun, and, I think this is something that a lot more people could get more out of than me, and it was, again, something I wanted to like more than I did. I don't even dislike it, maybe I'll come back to it later and enjoy it more, but for now, I'm content with what I've read, and it's good, just do not want to continue. Next up is a Good Ending. This is by the same mangaka as Domestic Girlfriend, but much more normal and quite good as well. It's been a while since I've read this again, but I remember it being a pretty good romance manga and was pretty enjoyable to read. There's just something about her writing that just pulls you in and just makes binging easy. This was a good romance manga, If you're looking for one, try this out. I remember really liking this one. Next up, we have Goodnight Punpun. Finally, some good Asano. Punpun is very good. Super dark, depressing, tackles really heavy themes, and is certainly not for everyone. If you don't like dark, depressing stuff, definitely not this. And there could be some stuff in here that, depending on the person, could strike really close to home, and that could be a good thing, whether it, helps you through it, or a bad thing, being kind of like a trigger. It's just something you would have to do your research on yourself and find out, but it is a very good manga. Something I don't know if I ever want to reread, just in terms of just like, why would I put myself through this depressing ride again? But it is really good. It is really good, and yeah, I think I'll put it in very good, and a part of me does want to reread it for some reason, but there's always that part telling me like, oh, you don't want to read volume 6 again. I think that's the one with the scene I'm thinking of. I won't say it for spoilers, but there's some panels that will stick with you for a while, but it is just a really, really good manga, through what it's able to tackle is super good. Next up, we have Grand Blue Dreaming. One of my favorite manga, going right up in the best. It never fails to make me laugh. No matter how many times I reread it, a chapter, a volume, I always find myself smiling, laughing. I keep up with it every month, read the new chapters, get the volumes soon as they come out, and it's really just my go-to pick-me-up series if ever having like a bad day or bad time or need something to cheer me up. just grab a volume of Grand Blue, and I always end up feeling better. And it's just great. It's super funny. I think you'll know after, like, pretty early on if its style of humor is for you or not. It can be pretty juvenile at times, I won't lie, but it all hits for me. The characters are great, the chemistry between them is fantastic, and I just can't get enough of it. The days the chapters drop on the month are the best days of the month, and then the wait to the next one is always so painful, but I can always go back and reread it because it always makes me happy. Next up is Haikyuu. Wow, we're just stacking up the top tier. Another one of my favorites. I love Haikyuu. It literally, it is so much fun. I didn't really even care about volleyball when I read Haikyuu. I liked sports, so I was like, oh, a new sports series. This one looks pretty good. I'll try it out. And then I read Haikyuu, and now I literally play volleyball for my school at college. So it worked out pretty well. It just makes volleyball look so fun, and the characters are so great. The matches are intense, and the final arc takes so many bold decisions, but they all work out so well, and is just one of the best things I've ever read. Definitely one of my favorites, and I really hope the anime finishes and adapts the rest of the manga, because some of these arcs animated, oh my, they will be masterful, and I can't wait. Next up is Happiness, another Shuzo Oshimi manga. And this one is, it was alright. I think it's worth reading. The second half is quite the big shift. It can, go pretty bananas, and was certainly not the direction I was, expecting the story to take, but, it was entertaining, and like with pretty much all the Shuzo Oshimi I've read, I read it all so fast because his writing style just pulls me in, and I just gotta get to the end regardless of how I end up feeling about it. So definitely worth reading, I would say. Has its strong points. Next up we have I think this Hell Warden Higuma. This was a like a Shonen Jump manga a while ago. It got canceled like pretty early. I just picked it up because I was looking for something new. And I know why this got canceled, because it really didn't have anything that set it about. Didn't have anything really bad about it. Didn't have anything really good about it. It just kind of seemed like you're by the book shonen, and yeah, it was pretty meh. The definition of it, if you will. Next up we have Horimiya. The ended this year, and the anime came out, and upticked its popularity, and Horimiya was good. I really liked it. And then the second half sort of shifts to like this slice of life style of where the characters don't really get much development in those chapters. It's really just like for fun, and it goes on for a long time, and I was really disappointed by that. It just felt like you could have sprinkled in those chapters and made the story last longer, but they went through the main story, like, with pretty much no filler, and then just added all this stuff, and it, soured me on it a little bit, but I do still think it's a good series, and I guess if you love the cast, then, you would probably like the slice of life stuff. I just wish it didn't stop the character development, because I was hoping for more from some of the side characters, and I just didn't get it. But still a good manga, and if you like romance manga, this is a good one. Alright, next up we got Jojo Part 6. Jolene, my love. I love Jolene. She's one of, if not maybe my favorite JoJo, and I am so excited for the anime. You have no idea. I loved reading this. It was super fun. I have the only JoJo manga I've read are the ones without anime adaptations, but I will go back and read the other parts because, well, I want to have some of the volumes because I'm a big JoJo fan and don't own any, which sucks. And just probably when they announce the release date for Stone Ocean, I probably will, and that should be pretty fun. But it's great, and I can't wait to see it animated. It is pretty controversial for its ending, and I understand why, but I really liked the ending and has some great, great characters and insane stands. I feel like the stands in JoJo almost get better from each part, and this one in particular has one of my favorite stands, even still in JoJo. So super excited for the anime. Next up, we have Steel Ball Run, my favorite JoJo part, and one of my favorite manga. It is just fantastic. I don't even like cowboys and Wild West, and this was still amazing. The characters, Gyro and Johnny, are both amazing. Some of the best JoJo characters. The pacing is perfect. It's not bogged down with too many fights. It lets the characters and story breathe at times. The story is really exciting. It's a horse race to the end and really feels like a race and is just exhilarating and has a fantastic villain as well and is widely considered the best JoJo part, and for good reason. I love it, and I can't wait for the Steel Ball Run anime if and when it gets announced, and hopefully it does because they seem to be doing all of the parts, which is great. And I love this manga. In my top 5, maybe top 3, it is. I love it. As a JoJo fan, this is just peak JoJo. Then we have Jojolion. Now, I am not caught up on Jojolion. This is part 8. I think, like, on chapter 30, and then I was like, I'm just gonna stop and wait till it's finished, so then I can binge read it, and I guess it's supposed to be ending next month, or maybe the month after, which is cool, so now I can, go back and binge this. Very, very excited. The mystery in this one was really good, and I'm super excited to catch up and read this. Again, just because I'm so early, I just think I'm going to put it in good for now. And yeah, and once I catch up, I'm sure I'll have it much higher because I really did like what it was setting up. Then we have Jujutsu Kaisen. Now, I actually have a video recorded of me talking about Jujutsu Kaisen because I caught up recently, but I haven't edited yet just because I've recorded it like 3 times, but each time I just feel like I didn't say what I wanted to say properly, so I'll try to have it out or just suck it up and edit the most recent one I have. But long story short, I watched the JJK anime, liked it, put off reading the manga for a while just because I wasn't in the mood. Finally read the manga since I saw the hiatus. It was like, okay, now I can catch up without worrying about the chapters coming back. And then I think it's coming back next month, which is good. Glad Gege is healthy. And yeah, it was a very good battle manga. You know, if you like shonen, battle shonen, I can see why this one blew up, because it has the hype and certainly the quality to back it up. Next we have Kaguya-sama Love is War, another one of my favorites, probably my favorite rom-com. Actually, yeah, definitely my favorite rom-com for now, but Fly Me to the Moon could be on its way to take the throne. But yeah, I love Kaguya. The characters are so good. I love the entire main cast. They're all so good, play off of each other super well. These serious moments are fantastic, and the comedy is great as well, and balances the comedy and serious moments just perfectly, and is such a fun read. I keep up with it weekly, and I love watching the anime too because I feel like you can feel how much fun the voice actors are having doing it, which is great. So, love Kaguya. Definitely one of my favorites. Next up, we have Kaiju number 8. This is a newer manga that is like selling super well in Japan, which is surprising just because of how new it is, but I get it because it's really good. I've had an idea to make like my favorite newer manga kind of thing, and this would be in it most likely. And yeah, it's just a really good manga, and it's getting an English release, I know, later this year, and I'm sure an anime will happen as soon as it has enough chapters. And it's just really good and has a lot of very subtle shifts from like your normal battle series that make it feel unique, while also kind of you can feel how inspired it is by other series like Attack on Titan, but still has its own identity and manages to be a really good manga. So this is good. This is good. I like it, and I always read the new chapters when they come out right away, and could very well see myself putting it up in a very good. You know what? I'm gonna put it in very good. Why not? This is a good manga. I should do that video. I should do a lot of videos, but I'm lazy. So I'll get to it if I get to it. This one, oh, I forget the name of it. I think the English name is like a couple of cuckoos or something. It's got like a pretty weird name, but this is a pretty good romance manga. I was looking, romance mangas are never normally my favorite, but they're like a comfort, light reading genre I go to occasionally, and I was looking for a new one and found this, and it was pretty fun. It reminded me of quintessential quintuplets in a few ways, which is, to me, a good thing, because I liked that series as well, which we'll get into later when it pops up. And I think this one is getting anime soon as well, and it is a good romance manga, and I would definitely recommend it if you're looking for a new one. And it's just I don't know what else to say. I like it. It's pretty solid. Then we have Girlfriend Girlfriend, or Kanojo mo Kanojo. This was another one I found when I was looking for a new one along with the last one, and this one is just pretty absurd. It's about this main character, and he has like two girlfriends, and they're both like totally cool with him two-timing. The main character in this is freaking hilarious because he's just like brutally honest and always says like the most truthful thing, which makes for some really funny moments of just like, dude, did you just say that? But apart from that, and it's just not very good. I didn't really care for it too much, but I do like the main character though because he's really funny. But yeah, if you wanted to check this out, you can go for it, but you're not really missing anything special. I think this is just pretty meh. Next up, we have Casane, something I read recently. It is a darker, sort of psychological manga, and basically tackles the themes of, the advantages you get in life when you are attractive and good looking. The main character was kind of born ugly, but she has this lipstick to where if she kisses someone, she can steal their face for a certain amount of time, and she gets to live the life that she always wanted to live by doing that. And it goes to some very dark places, but it was just a really enjoyable read that I had a lot of fun with, and has some very nice cover art now that I'm seeing it more. And yeah, very good manga. I liked this one quite a bit. Next up, we have Kingdom. Now, I read the first arc of Kingdom, which I think is like the first 50 chapters, and I really liked it. I thought it was a really good intro arc, but I haven't continued since then because I'm stopping myself because this thing is so long, and I'm like, ugh, do I want to read this many chapters? Because at a certain point with manga, it just becomes like, if it's too long, I'm just like, dude, this needed to end like 50 chapters ago. Like, I can't do it anymore. But Kingdom, I do really want to read even still, so maybe I will just stop being a baby and do it. But yeah, this was I think I would already put it in like very good after just the first arc, which probably says a lot to what I would think of it if I continued, but I will see if I do, I suppose. Next up, we have Land of the Lustrous. You guys have followed me on Instagram. I was posting quite a bit about this series when I was getting into it. I was just obsessed with it when I started and couldn't stop until I caught up, and it just became one of my favorite manga. It is fantastic. The story and world are so great and have such a uniqueness to them that I just haven't seen in any other manga. And oh, excuse me. And the pacing is perfect. It's just like feels like a slowly lit fuse getting ready to burst until it eventually does. And I loved it. It's on a hiatus right now, which is very sad, but the 11th volume is coming out I think next month. So next month I'm going to be getting quite a few things I've been looking forward to, which is cool. And that 11th volume is all that's out right now, so I can't wait to reread it all now that I'll have all the volumes, and it's just super exciting. I love this manga, definitely one of my favorites. Next up is Made in Abyss. Again, another series I love. Watched the anime, really liked it, and then just wanted to continue with the manga. Love the artwork in the manga. The art style is so good, especially like the backgrounds of the abyss just has some amazing spreads in it and whatnot, and can get super dark and messed up, but is so great. And just in terms of adventure, and just having this great world that I want to see more of. Nothing has done that better than Made in Abyss for me. It does have, its controversial moments, since it does have children main characters, and, it is a dark and mature series, so dark and messed up stuff is going to happen. It's just going to be happening to kids, so I can understand why some people would get turned off by some of the stuff in that, but to me, what sticks out more is just the sense of adventure and the world, and I just can't get enough. It is great. It has a really slow release schedule, which is, really unfortunate, but could definitely be up here once some more comes out. Next up, we have Masamune-kun's Revenge. Oh my goodness. I haven't read this since like high school, like early high school, man. Oh my god, I don't. This is. I remember having some fun with this. It did have a really rushed ending, I do remember, but I do remember liking this. It has such a ridiculous setup. So like the main character was like fat in like middle school, and he would get bullied for that by like the main girl, and then he like over the summer he like worked out and became like buff, skinny, and like hot just so he could go out with her and like break her heart to get revenge. It's so stupid, but it was pretty funny from what I remember. And yeah, I guess this one is worth reading if it sounds cool to you. I have some fond memories with this one. Next up is Mob Psycho 100 Reagan. This is a kind of like epilogue manga to Mob Psycho, and I love Mob Psycho, the anime. I haven't read the manga yet just because the art style kind of turns me off, but I have really enjoyed reading this volume, and I probably will pick up the manga just because I want to know how it ends, but hopefully the anime finishes out. That would be ideal. But this was a pretty fun read. If you're a Mob Psycho fan, this is definitely worth it because I enjoyed my time with this. Next up, we have Monster, my favorite Naoki Urasawa manga. I'm gonna put this up in great. I really do want to reread this because it has been a while, but it's just so good. A thriller through and through. There's great characters, a great villain, a great story, and I just couldn't put this down when I was reading it, and I'm really excited to reread it because I missed this story. It was very fun. Next up is M0. This was a canceled Shonen Jump manga, an older one, and I remember loving this when I was reading it back when I was younger. It was super fun, and I was really bummed when how it ended because it's an open-ended ending, but the way it ends is it feels like it was just setting up for another arc, and it just stops, and it was super disappointing. But it is what it is, I suppose. But I do remember really liking this. I'm gonna put this up in very good. Next up, we got My Hero Academia and My Hero Academia Vigilantes. So we'll start with the main series, My Hero. Of course, I don't think it needs any introduction. Everyone's probably watched or read it, at some point, and I'm definitely on the side of people who do like it. I read it every week, think it's super good. I love where the story is at right now and where it's been at for, like the past year and a half. It's just been non-stop bangers. Horikoshi's just been in his bag, and love MHA, and just can't wait for the new chapter this week and the weeks beyond, because Horikoshi just cannot miss right now. He is really just doing God's work. And then we have Vigilantes, which is the spin-off series of it, which is good as well. There is a certain group who think this is better than the main series. I do not agree, but I get it, because this has its own charm to it. It's a much smaller cast, which the big cast is definitely one of my problems with My Hero, because there's so many characters that just don't do anything, and I don't even remember. But Vigilantes does not have that. It's a smaller, more personable cast, and is quite good. And I'm almost ready to call this required reading, because some of the pro heroes' backstories are in Vigilantes, and whether or not they should be is a valid discussion, but they are. And, it just, it is what it is. But if you like MHA, you'd probably like this too, because it is a good manga. And, yeah, totally would recommend it if you like MHA. Totally worth it. Next up, we have My Love Story, one of the first, and maybe I don't know if some of these other ones are shoujo or not, but one of the first shoujo manga I've read, and it was pretty good. I liked it. The romance aspects of it were sweet. I do wish it had more of a story. It was kind of each chapter was like its own thing, and that's kind of seemed to be the case with most of the shoujo stuff I've tried. But that's okay, because, yeah, it was pretty good. I liked it. Very, very wholesome and sweet. Then we have Naruto. My nostalgia is flooding up. My childhood. I'm gonna put this up in great. And, am I nostalgia blinded? Maybe a little bit, although I did reread bits of it recently, and it still held up pretty well for me. But, like I said, one of my first manga, along with Death Note, bought the 2 volumes once at the same time. Naruto's the first anime I watched, knowing it was anime, because I didn't know, the Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon anime were. And I'll just always have a soft spot for it, and I do think it is, a genuinely great series with some of the best arcs in shonen, and some great characters, even if, there are some duds in there, but especially the villains are fantastic in Naruto. I would even argue the villain writing is maybe the best part about it, but yeah, series I love, and my childhood, man. I can't slander my childhood, come on. Next up, we have Negima. This sucked. This really sucked. I only read this because I was reading another manga, which we'll see later by the same guy, and I was kind of liking that other one, but I found out it was like kind of a pseudo sequel to this, and some people said to read this, so I went and tried it, and I just did not like it at all. I didn't get super far just because I was just like so like bored with it. I've heard like it gets good at like the end, but like there's just only so much I can take with that. The early on Negima was not really hitting with me, so I don't think I will be going back. Next up is Nisekoi. I have not thought about this series in years. The OG harem thing, kind of. Oh, excuse me. But yeah, Nisekoi was something I enjoyed a bit back when I was younger. It did go on for too long, I thought. That was my main thing with it, but I did like the ending, and there were some interesting and funny enough parts of it. You know, it's alright. I'll put it in meh. It's okay. Noragami. This is a very good manga. I like Noragami a lot. I'm not reading this currently. I've like paused it because I wanna let it, end, and maybe the anime will come back. And I don't really have a good reason for why I'm not reading Noragami, but it is very good. I did really enjoy my time with it. Next up is One Piece, of course, the legendary. Now, when I was talking about Kingdom, to where if something is just too long after a while, I just check out, and, I'm just like, I don't care anymore. That's what happened with me with One Piece. It is still very good. There are some great arcs. There are some dud arcs. It seems to almost be every other arc with One Piece. But it is very good, but I just hit a wall, got burned out, and I'm still so far off of catching up, and I just don't think I will continue, but, it's a legendary series and legendary for a reason, and I did enjoy my time with it, but it's just, Oda, what are you doing, man? Like this, you need to save yourself, homie, please. Very good, but I don't think I'll be going back to One Piece. I feel content and done with what I've read. I don't even remember the name of this manga, but I remember reading it. I think it got like canceled because the ending was insane. The premise was something like this dude has to like go back in time and like make his friend lose his virginity because his friend ends up like killing him because of it. Just something so stupid. Like when I saw the synopsis, I was like, what? Like I just clicked on it just because I was like, what the hell is this? And it was something like that, but it was entertaining from what I remember, but it just kind of like ended, so it must have gotten canceled. But yeah, this series was I guess meh. I do remember enjoying reading it, but probably just for the shit posting, but that's okay. Next up is Oshinoko, Akasaka's other manga. This one is great. This has kind of been filling the Act Age void for me. Deals with, the acting and entertainment industry, and has a really cool murder mystery to go along with it. It's hard to talk about it without spoiling it a little bit, because even the first chapter has some pretty substantial stuff go down in it. But I love this series and love keeping up with it, and just cannot wait for it to have more out so I can just keep reading and get deeper into it, because it is fantastic. I'm caught up with it, but they can't come out fast enough. Freaking Akasaka, man. He's really doing like 2 weekly manga, and both of them are bangers. Just carrying the manga industry for real. Next up, we got Pandora Hearts, another one of my favorites. I have not read this in a long time, actually, and I really need to reread it because I've missed it. The story of this is so good. One of my favorite just stories in manga. The characters, so many good ones. The plot twist, the artwork, just everything was just hitting for me. And this is another one I don't want to say too much about, as well as it has been a while. But yeah, I need to reread this because I just... Yeah, even with my memory being hazy on it, I still think of it being up here, which I think says a lot. Next up is Ping Pong by Taiyu Masumoto, which was very good. Really happy that it got an English release. Loved the anime. Super unique art style, as well as really like what it addresses, sort of the cruel reality of sports. Sometimes people are just going to have more natural talent and can do better than you, even if you work hard. They're just going to be better sometimes, and it's just going to be what happens. And it's just a really, really good manga. I loved it, loved the anime, and glad we got the manga released so I could reread it and own it. Next up, we got Platinum End. Now, I dropped Platinum End. I really, because I love this duo, I love their other works, Death Note, Bakuman, but this one, man, oh my goodness. I'm gonna try again with the anime to finish the anime, but I just got to a certain point, to anyone who's read it, the arc with the ugly guy, and that's all I'll say. That's what I just lost. I was like, dude, what am I reading? Like, Platinum End sucks. It sucks. I can't believe this was by the same guys who wrote Death Note. The artwork is still great, but the writing quality, oh my god. But yeah, I'm gonna try again with the anime, because maybe I'll have more fun knowing I can just laugh at it, but yikes. Then is Pokemon Adventures. If you like Pokemon, this is super good. These are great Pokemon stories, really expand on the stories of the games and do their own thing, and are really enjoyable. I'm not caught up, I stopped after the gold and silver ones, but I really do like them because I'm a fan of Pokemon, so these are great for fans. Next up is Prison School. Prison School is good. It has like this really weird ending and this final arc that really sucks and seems to just go on for a little too long, but early Prison School is so funny, man. I remember watching the anime with one of my friends and we were both just laughing our asses off. And then I read the manga and continued, and it's still good despite the sourness the ending can give, but I'll always remember that early Prison School because it just had this magic and was so funny. Next up, we have The Promised Neverland, or The Promised Fumble Land, because, wow. This series, the first two arcs were great. I really enjoyed them, and after that, it just really takes a nosedive and just... Yikes. I really fell out of love with TPN. Not that it was ever one of my absolute favorites, but I did like it, but now it's just kind of meh to me, which is sad to say, and I know there's still a lot who enjoy the series, which is cool, but I really just lost my love for it. Then next up we got Quintessential Quintuplets. This is a good series. Oh, that is not it. There we go. Oh, no. Jeez. Okay, there we go. This is a good series. Really, interesting take on the harem. Is pretty wholesome for being, a harem, which are commonly associated with, ecchi and lewd stuff. But this one's pretty wholesome, which was cool. And has a pretty good story and mystery because it establishes right away that he does marry one of these girls, so it was nice trying to pick up on all the clues, which one will it be, and it was a good manga. A lot of people like it a little more than I do, which is cool. I did still like it, but just not one of, like, my absolute favorite rom-coms, like I know it was for some people, but still a good manga, definitely. Then we have Ran in the Grey World, another manga by Aki Irie, who did Go With the Clouds North by Northwest. I loved this. This is completed. I have all the volumes, and I loved reading it. A super, super beautiful manga with the artwork, and I loved the story. It's about this girl who, like many of us when we were kids, wanted to grow up too fast, and, getting into that adult world is really not so fun after all, and sort of to treasure your childhood while it lasts and can make you nostalgic of that time. It was a really good manga. Like I said earlier, Aki Irie is such an underrated mangaka, and this was another great manga in her library. Next up, we have the ReZero manga. I used to be a big fan of the ReZero anime. I wasn't so much anymore after rewatching the first season in preparation for the second one, which was very disappointing to me because I really did love it, but just wasn't clicking for me anymore. But I read the manga, a while ago, just because I liked it and wanted to, and it's a fine enough adaptation, but there's no real reason to read this instead of watch the anime. So it's just meh. If you want to check out ReZero, just watch the anime or read the light novels. The manga's not bad. There's just no reason to do it. Next, we have Real, another one of my favorite manga. One of, if not the most emotional manga I've ever read. It just got me so many times. The things it addresses, with its main thing being disability, with it being a wheelchair basketball series, are fantastic. It has 3 different protagonists, and all 3 of them are super interesting and goes back and forth. And the danger with those, multi-protag series can be like, when it goes to another one, you'll be like, oh, well, I want the other one back. They're way more interesting. I didn't feel that at all with this series. I thought all of them were equally interesting, or some great side characters. And Inoue seems to be back to doing this one, which is super exciting because I need more. I love this, and I hope I can get all the volumes someday. Next up is Rent a Girlfriend. This was pretty funny to see how popular it got with the anime and stuff, because I was reading it before that, just like one of my friends told me about it, and like, I just read it, because of him, and ended up keeping up with it because it's pretty entertaining. And there's a lot of things. I read the new chapters and I'll complain about them all day to my friends, and can go on and on. But at the end of the day, this is a series I'm always right there whenever the new chapter drops every single week, and I do like a lot of parts about it. So I would say this is a good series. If you're into this sort of thing, if it sounds good, definitely worth reading. I would say it's good. I like it. Next up is Scum's Wish. Again, this is something I read a while ago, and I am struggling to remember like kind of what's it about. I know it has to deal with like unrequited love is its main thing, and I do remember thinking it was pretty good. So I'm just gonna go with what my memory is telling me and put it up in good, but it has been a while for this one. Next up is Seven Deadly Sins, another one I used to love, but I just feel like it got weaker and weaker as it went on, and just, it has like 5 final arcs, and it's just like, oh, for a while I was like, please just end, and it finally did. And I still think it's worth reading because it does have some really cool characters in the Sins, like Bon and King and Escanor I all really liked. And, I don't think of it as highly as I used to, but I would still say it's worth reading if you like Battle Shonen. Next up, we have Shonen no Abyss, or Boys Abyss, and it is going straight into the tier abyss because this is terrible. Oh my good. When I read this, I couldn't believe what I was reading. The characters in here are terrible. They flip-flop back and forth so often and are all just unlikable. The story, it just feels like it's trying way too hard to be mature and just feels like edgy. This is like edgy teenage years, the manga. You know, it's a comedy is really what it is, even though it shouldn't be. It's a great unintentional laugh, and yeah, this is not good. If anyone tells you this is good, be weary of them because yikes, yikes. Just kidding, of course, but yeah, not a fan of this. Next up is Slam Dunk. As you guys will see, I might have a Takehiko Inoue bias, maybe just a little bit, but yeah, another one of my favorites. I love basketball, one of, if not my favorite sports, and this is just the best basketball manga. I love it. Love it. Another one I need to reread because I miss it. Next up, we have Solanin, another great Asano work. Maybe my favorite Asano work, maybe slightly more than Punpun. I have to think about it, but love Solanin. I really love its, message and themes. It'll hit pretty hard if you're like college student like I am, or maybe out of, college. It has a lot of themes in there that's kind of catered to that sort of demographic, and I think if someone wants to try an Io Asano, this is the one to try. I think because it is still has its dark moments, but ends off on a very happy and hopeful message, which makes it a very good read and something I see myself coming back to in the future. Next up, we have Soul Eater. I watched the anime for Soul Eater years back, really liked it, and have started collecting it now with the perfect editions. And I need to get the fourth one, actually. I don't have that one, and it's been enjoyable to read them that way. And I'm looking forward to getting past, because I know it had to do an anime original ending, so I'm looking forward to getting past that and getting to some new content. So I'm going to put it in good for now, but we'll most likely move up when I get more of it read. Next up, we have Spirit Circle. I love this manga. It's one of my favorites. My favorite short manga, probably. Oh, excuse me. My favorite short manga, probably. Only 6 volumes, but I love it. I've came back and reread it several times. It's such a great story. Has to deal with, reincarnation, sort of. It's this boy and this girl are, sworn enemies, and this girl wants to kill him, so it's this boy goes back and relives and sees their past lives to see how they got this conflict and see if he can end that cycle. It's super good. I can't recommend it enough, and it's just one of my favorite manga, and I want to go reread it now that I'm talking about it, since it doesn't take that long, and it's great. Love Spirit Circle. Next up is Suzuka. I do not remember liking this one a whole lot. It has been a while, but I remember thinking this one was pretty bad, so I'll put it down here. Next up is The Breaker. I believe this is a manhwa, a Korean manga, and again, I've not read this for a while, but I remember it having some cool stuff, especially at the ending, and having like a pretty cool sensei character, so yeah, it's worth reading from what I remember. It was pretty good. Next up, we have The God's Lie, which is a one shot. It's like a 1-volume manga, and for what it is, it's pretty good. It tells a pretty interesting story with some cool twists that I didn't see coming. Has nice artwork and was a pretty solid little read. I definitely say this is worth reading and definitely one of the better one-volume manga that you could probably get. Next up is The Golden Sheep, done by the same mangaka as The Gods Lie, and is 3 volumes, so also pretty short, but I loved this. I binged this all. I really did like this. Again, something I can see myself coming back to and rereading several times just because of its length and how good it is, and has some really good, interesting characters, and tackles a really, tough but good subject of expectations versus reality, and people are not always going to be the same as how you remember them, and sometimes for the worst, and sort of tackles that, and is a really nice little story. Really should make that short manga video, because there's a lot of good ones. Next up, we have A Witch and the Beast. I had the first 2 volumes of this and got rid of them just because I didn't like them. I just thought it was, okay. But this would be something I would give another chance to if, an anime came out. And maybe the anime would pull me in because it is really cool artwork and I liked the premise, but it wasn't clicking for me for whatever reason, so put it in meh. Then we have a Time Paradox Ghost Rider. This one got axed very early on and had a potential, but just, of course, since it ended so early, it would have been hard for it to do much of anything, but, it did make some mistakes. I think they really screwed up with this female character right here, making her kind of an airhead, and then I heard, rumors, the Japanese didn't like it because they thought it was glorifying plagiarism in a way and whatnot. There was a lot of things going on with this one, but it had potential, so I do hope this mangaka gets another shot, but this one was just, pretty forgettable. Next up, we have Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. My beloved. I have been reading this. I just got the most recent volume 9. I think 10 comes out next month, actually, now I'm thinking about it. So August. Gonna be great. And I loved this. Catching up to this was super fun. And this is great. This was a pleasant surprise. I was thinking I would enjoy this, but I've ended up enjoying it way more than I thought I would, which is awesome. So, love Hanako-kun, totally would recommend it. Maybe I'll make a video about it, but who knows. Next up is Tokyo Ghoul. As you can see from the channel profile picture, I think that'll tell you all you need to know. One of, if not my favorite manga of all time, and one day I do want to make a video trying to put it into words of how and why I love Tokyo Ghoul. And I'll save my words for then, but for now, it's up here, and I love it. Next up, we have Tokyo Revengers. This was something I paused, and I don't know why, because I really liked it. And now the animes come out, so I've been watching the anime to refresh, myself, and then we'll probably pick it back up once the anime is done. But I really do like this series. It's super, super good. Got a nice little mystery to it. Going back to the past to change the future. Big fan of that, time travel sort of stuff. So this is good. Would totally recommend it. And the anime is going on right now and is a good adaptation. So you can check that out if you want or read it. And hopefully we can get some physicals. Next up is the Umineko manga, more specifically the episode 1, because that's the only one I've read. Now, I love Umineko, the visual novel. It's one of my favorite pieces of media ever. And I read the manga after episode 1 because I took a break in between the VN episode 1 and 2, so I wanted to refresh myself. But I do want to read all of the manga just so I can re-experience the story, as well as the manga does add some new stuff. I would say it's mainly for fans of the VN, but if you don't want to read VNs, or if you don't even know what they are, yeah, you could probably just read the manga and be fine, because I know of some people who have done that. And episode 1, it was a skimmed down adaptation of the VN, because the VN episodes are very long, so it concises them down, which is cool for, reread purposes, but does gloss over some scenes that I really liked in said episode, but were just a few pages here, which was disappointing, but it is what it is, and I will continue it, because I want to read through all of it. So, yeah, worth reading, I'd say, if you're a fan. Next up, we have a UQ Holder. Now, this is the one I was talking about with Negima, that I heard you had to read before reading UQ, and I remember thinking this was like kind of alright. I was kind of into it, and then I read Negima, and then it was like I didn't like that, and then I just kind of ended up not continuing this, which maybe I will, maybe I won't. We'll see, I suppose, but yeah, UQ, I only read like a volume of it, so I didn't get very far, but better than Negima, so we'll put it in meh, I guess. Next up, we have Vagabond, which I'm sure if you can guess by the other Takehiko Inoue stuff. Yeah, it's a favorite. I read it this year, finally, because I was putting it off so long because of the hiatus, but I decided enough is enough, because I love samurai, and this is just one of the best samurai things you can get, honestly, and it did not disappoint with its, status as being acclaimed as one of the best manga, and I can see why. Musashi is amazing, the artwork is amazing, and just the progression of the story is fantastic. I loved Vagabond, and hope it can continue someday, but if not, what we have is nothing short of fantastic. Next up, we have the case study of Vanitas, the other Jun Mochizuki manga. Also has an anime ongoing right now, and I love this series too. Has 8 volumes out, I think, is still ongoing, so still has much more of its mysteries to tell, because a lot of the magic with these Mochizuki manga is, the payoffs to said mysteries, which you won't know, all of them until it's done, but I love it. I love watching the anime right now. It's been really fun, and then a new volume came out recently too, and that was super fun, and I love this series. I love vampires too, and this has cool vampires, so what more can I ask for? This one, I forget the name of this, and I think it's Watashi Tachi no Shiase Jikan, something like Our Happy Times, I think. This is probably the best, like, one-volume manga I've read. I loved it. It was very good. It has to do with this girl who, like, sort of befriends a death row inmate, from what I remember, and, just sort of keeping, they develop a sort of friendship until his, like, execution. It's been a while since I've read it, so some of that may not be entirely accurate, but it was such a good manga. Got me super emotional, even though it was just one freaking volume, and I loved it. This was a fantastic read. Next up, we have Witch Watch, another new manga that I just recently caught up to. Same mangaka as Astra Lost in Space, and it was good. I really liked it. Really like the 2 main characters. They're super cute. Feel like there could be a nice little romance blossoming that would be pretty well done in the story, as well as I like the story by itself. Sort of this an unknown looming threat, and trying to figure out what that is and protect her. It's good. Definitely a new manga I am into and like. Next up, we have Wotakoi. I believe this has ended or is ending soon with volume 11. So that's sad, but at least it's gonna go out. Not being stretched out, which is good. And I love this manga. Super good. Love it. Really good rom-com. Is nice too, because it's not set place in like high school or even college. It's with working adults, so it makes it much more mature. Even though I'm still in college, I did appreciate that. And if you're older, this is probably something you would like, and something any otaku, if you want to use that word, can at least find something they relate to in this, and is super good. Love this, and I'm sad it's ending, but can't wait to get the rest of it. Oh, almost done here. This is going to be a really long video. Next up, we have Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, the manga, and I loved Yu-Gi-Oh! When I was a kid. I still do now, even. I won't lie like I don't. And the GX manga, I'm not going to say it's better than the anime, but I do remember liking this one a good amount, and maybe could be, but it's been years since I've read or watched both, so this is good. You know, if you're a Yu-Gi-Oh fan, the Yu-Gi-Oh manga is definitely worth it because they take, except the original one, they take different storylines than the anime. So they're similar, like with the same characters and stuff, but a new storyline, which can be pretty cool and refreshing. Next up, we have Yu-Gi-Oh! R, which is a side story to the original, which takes place in between, I think, Duelist Kingdom and Battle City? Maybe not. Maybe after Battle City. I can't remember for sure, but someplace there. And as far as spin-offs, I remember liking it. It has some pretty cool cards in it as well, which I remember really liking back when I was younger. So, again, good. Then we have the mainline Yu-Gi-Oh! I've been getting, like, nostalgic for this, really been wanting to reread it. I have a few of the volumes of it, but not the whole thing, so maybe I will try and, track down a set of it, because I would like to have that. Yu-Gi-Oh! Very good, very good. I can understand not liking it if you didn't grow up with it, but I definitely did and do really like it, so... we have, like, Let's Go Yui Kamio or something like that. I don't know why I kept up and finished with this. This manga, like, really sucked. I don't even remember anything about it, but, you know, whatever. Last up now, the Zelda manga. I'm a big fan of the Zelda video game series. So the manga is pretty fun. I wouldn't really recommend it unless you have you know, played the games, and if you have, they can be a fun thing. So, Four Swords, never actually played this one, because, I never had any friends to play it with, but, this was a pretty good manga from what I remember. Ocarina of Time, probably still my favorite Zelda game. I haven't played all of them, but from the ones I have played, maybe still my favorite, and, the manga is cool, too. It has some pretty cool stuff. And then Twilight Princess, which is interesting because the other ones are like either 1 or 2 volumes. You know, they wrap them up pretty short. But Twilight Princess is much longer, and they're taking their time with it. So it'll probably end up being the best. The best manga adaptation of the Zelda games. And I was reading this for a while. And then I was like, I should probably stop, because I haven't actually played Twilight Princess, and I do want to, so I stopped myself, but I did like what I read, and, you know, like I said, it's taken its time the most, from the other, adaptations, so it will probably end up being the best one. So yeah, all of them, worth reading, if, you're a Zelda fan, and that is it. My goodness, that took forever, but, that was pretty fun to make. So, you know, yeah, you know, comment below, what you did or, you know, do or don't disagree with, what manga you like, any manga you want to talk with me about in the comments, you know, if you want to. Like and subscribe if you want to. And, yeah, this was pretty fun to make, and I will see you guys in my next video. Whenever I make it, because I have a lot I need to make, and I will see you then. Peace out.